Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wrestling with Statistics, the only show that looks at the world of professional wrestling through the lens of stats, analytics, everything in between. I am your host, Ryan Knightsey, and with me, as always, is the man behind Pro Wrestling Musings himself, Craig. Craig, first off, I want to know how you're doing, especially coming off of the, as many on the internet purported, the end of All Elite Wrestling, officially. So, now that All Elite Wrestling is over, how are you feeling, Craig?
Yeah, so All Elite Wrestling isn't dead. It was not up to their normal standards. All Out was a decent show. It did not hit the 5-star match quality that it has done before. Not All Out in particular, but other AEW pay-per-views. And we are all going to be able to get over that in time, because we should have enough trust in AEW by now that it should be fine. What do you think of the situation, Ryan?
Craig, I don't even know what you're talking about. I read the internet. I was on Twitter the entire time the show was going on. All Elite Wrestling's over. Why are you saying that like, oh, it's fine? I mean, it's over, buddy. What are you talking about?
Sure.
That was the reaction I was trying to get. All Out, like you said, it was fine. It was, I think a lot of the internet backlash has been specifically from the fact that it was just fine.
Yeah.
Like
we also don't like when men's heads bounce off concrete and they're still allowed to finish wrestling matches after a 100-second medical check. That's something that people are a bit confused about, and I think confused about that is the word to use. Neither of us are a doctor, unless you've been keeping that very quiet.
Yeah, I've been I have my degree on the wall behind me, but it's like shrouded in like just a picture of like Shibata's face. I don't know why I picked Shibata, but that's who I picked. I think it's because I have his towel right above me. You've never seen this. I just realized you've never seen this wall right in front of me, Craig. Right in front of me, strewn up on the wall here, is the Shibata wrestler towel. It's just beautiful up there, and I look up there to remind myself that I don't want to mess with Shibata, or he'll kick the ever-loving butt out of me.
Or use too many headbutts.
Too many headbutts. Speaking of headbutts, I had no transition, but yeah, it was, and I think that's what people on the internet are frustrated about, is that it was a fine pay-per-view. I wouldn't say this is a bad pay-per-view in any capacity. I think the match quality themselves was fine. The storytelling I liked for the most part. And what really just blew the whole wind out of the sails of the show was the multiple scares back to back to back in the course of less than an hour. Maybe less than 30 minutes now that I'm looking at this. Potentially less than 30 minutes. And we had 3 scares. Because
30-40 minutes.
Casino Battle Royale match was 21 minutes, and the Broken Rules match was 6 minutes. So that means in less than 30 minutes, we had the Darby Allin scare, the Matt Sydal scare, and the Matt Hardy scare. So a lot of it was like, that's terrifying. And then the entire time, you're just looking at Twitter to figure out things. You get Tony Schiavone talking about like, oh, he's fine. And we're all like, how is he fine? I did like the idea that like, if this is a work, then chalk it up to the greatest work of all time. But it did not. The guy's head was purple. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, we're not a doctor here, but like that doesn't look good. But yeah,
I mean, he couldn't stand up. He fell over repeatedly. It wasn't good. Aubrey Edwards obviously wanted to cut things immediately. Don't know what that process was, but she was signaling several times in the process.
Is there? And I don't want to like. Maybe we should talk about more of the Matt Hardy stuff, but I feel like we're talking about it basically the Matt Hardy match stuff now. And I don't think this is being talked about, and I'm just remembering this now. The fact of whether or not he got a concussion is whatever, I guess. It's not whatever. It's very important because there's the idea. But this isn't the first time this has happened in this promotion. Remember I believe it was Fight for the Fallen pay-per-view, where B. Priestley concussed Britt Baker, and that match continued despite Britt Baker getting a concussion.
Yeah, and she was quite messed up and
visually messed up.
Yeah, she went for a tag in the wrong corner.
And then throughout the rest of the match, visually messed up. I would say definitely not as bad as Matt Hardy appeared to look, but concussed. Find out afterwards, concussed. Match did not end. Here, match ends, but restarts, and then who knows how many potential other concussions could have happened throughout this promotion. You look to the Moxley Omega match at Full Gear. Who knows if there was a concussion in there? It was an unsanctioned match. Who could have guessed? Or any other match that could have happened. It's wrestling. Concussions happen all over the place, probably. But this isn't new. Now that I'm thinking about it, and that makes me more upset because this isn't new. Is someone getting concussion and continuing the match? Maybe not to this degree, but I just realized that I'm kind of upset about it now that I think about it.
Yeah, like the rest of sports have woken up to concussions and are being overprotective, and I think a lot of the issues are being levied at Tony Khan because he was the person talking about it and was putting his name on it. I would again question his use of pronouns. But it's hard because he's dealing with a culture that is very much in that vein. You rip both your quadrilaterals and you finish the match.
Yeah.
What does that do to your knees? What does that do to your ankles? Are these wrestlers lucky that they're able to walk in straight lines afterwards? I don't know. I don't want you to finish a wrestling match because you think you have to. I stop the match. I don't care if it's like, oh well, he was going to have to leave AEW. It's like, nah, the match was called off. It doesn't count. That wouldn't be fair. And like, we shouldn't be kind of lining storyline kayfabe up against like the health of a guy whose kids were watching. Have you seen the picture of Matt Hardy's kids in like his home cinema? That kind of draws a line under it.
Yeah, I think that sort of like puts the point on like this overall culture shift in, at the very least, wrestling fandom. Hopefully other sports. I would say they're maybe farther along than wrestling fans are. But this culture shift in wrestling fandom where obviously beforehand it's been done to death by other companies, WWE. The idea of the show must go on despite anything, including death.
Yeah.
I would feel that of this current younger wrestling audience, the mindset is changing. I would say that sure, the show must go on, but if it's people's health on the line, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea. You and I have both spoken. We've been consistent on the show talking about how we didn't think them doing shows during COVID at the very beginning of this back in March and April was a good idea. Same thing with WWE. We at the very least liked the fact that they were testing people, but there's when it comes to AEW, but they're the same vein. Like, we were still uncomfortable as fans. We were sort of like, should the show go on? Like, we understand that there's a money issue in their contract where if they don't go on, they get no money whatsoever besides merch sales. But it was really like a thing. And I think there's a point to be made about this culture shift where fans don't really want the show to go on if there is a huge issue, like someone falling off, let's say 10, 12 feet in the air onto basically just concrete.
Yeah, and like concussions are dangerous. Like, you're probably not familiar with this, but there's a footballer that got like kneed in the head 10, 15 years ago, goalkeeper. fractured his skull, concussion, whatever. He then wore a skull cap for the rest of his career. Every game he ever played after that, like it's dangerous, and like I don't know how many wrestlers are. If a wrestler needs to wear a skull cap for the rest of his career, does he actually do it, or does he just like find a promotion that needs the money badly enough that will let him continue to wrestle, even though there's a chance that something else might go wrong? I don't know. It's a bit disconcerting, but it also makes you then analyze, well, these wrestlers are choosing to do this with their body. It's probably quite likely that the whole vocation of being a wrestler in general is shortening your life and doing X, Y, Z to your body anyway. Just look at some of those New Japan dads, as they're called, kind of walking down to the ring with limited flexibility in their knees. It kind of makes you question what are we doing with our lives? Why are we watching this, Ryan?
Not only New Japan dads, but have you ever seen New Japan put out like a documentary that was sort of like talking about Okada a little bit? He's 32. That documentary where you see him like walking around, he walks around like an old man. In his general life. Like the strain of all those Omega classic matches and those epics of just so much strain on his body. And you're right. I mean, and that's the whole thing. And I guess we are now, as fans, coming face to face with that of like, changes need to be made. So we'll see how that all goes. We're not just here talking about the crappy parts of All Out. We're here talking about every other match. We're just going to do quick little thoughts about each little match here, Craig. Skipping the pre-show. No big things that we'll really talk about there. But we'll talk about that, and then we'll have a big deep dive into specifically the World Tag Team title match. Some nice graphs put together by Craig. With some additional information, kind of looking at their previous tag team title reign as a whole. But just quickly going down this card here and getting some quick thoughts from you and I, Craig, opening up with the tooth and nail match between Big Swole and Dr. Britt Baker, where Big Swole defeated Britt Baker in 6 minutes and 18 seconds. Craig, thoughts on... So I want to say first that I am very happy that this match was on the main card, because this match has been hyped since... might have been the pre-pandemic, but like right around March, this match has been getting hyped up for. So this is your longest storyline at the moment. Deserves to be on the main card. Not only that, but let's get at least one more women's match on the main card. That would be nice, especially with all the discussion that's happening on Twitter. In the same vein, I say this, watching this match, I did understand why there was a push to get this on the pre-show. It's a cinematic match. We all sort of heard that, and maybe it was like I like the fact that it's here, but I can see why they thought that. What were your thoughts on this match, this cinematic match, this tooth and nail match, Craig?
Scrap it. Number one contenders for the women's title instead. Nyla Rose versus Ivelisse. Problem solved. Now you've got representation on the main card. They can do a decent match. This was not necessary. It was fine. I enjoyed some of the character moments in it. Big Swole looked imposing. Britt Baker is Britt Baker. She's always excellent. Reba was running around with a banana skin on her head and some nice slapstick comedy. Some of it was absolute nonsense. Why is there a power drill in a dentist's office? It was obviously like, oh, we need a drill. Oh no, our dentist won't let us use one of those. They're really expensive. Here's a drill. Okay then. Meh, whatever. It didn't offend me, but it wasn't a great start.
Let's make Britt Baker, someone that we've been pushing as a doctor, into like an insane dentist that you don't want to go to her practice. Like in a weird way, like devaluing her position as an actual dentist.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she's just a crazy person. It's one of those things that they were obviously hoping that Britt Baker would be healthy by now. Since like back in March, they were like, Britt Baker was like, see it all out. And then we're like, oh, okay, well, she's not exactly healthy. They were obviously hoping for a match here between them two. But it's one of those things that, you know, if I was Tony Khan, if I was any promoter, why hope and wait for her to be healed by then? Why risk that gamble when, I don't know, like you said, let's build up in the next coming weeks a match between Nyla Rose and Ivelisse, or Nyla Rose Diamante, or even extend or push back the women's tag team tournament and make the opening match, you know, Diamante and Ivelisse versus not Britt Baker. Who are those people?
Brandy.
Who was the other person with Brandy?
Allie.
Nightmare family.
Nightmare
Sisters. Yes, Nightmare Sisters. Make that the opening match of the show. Make that tag match the opening match of the show. I think that could have been a great spot for all four of those women, and then a huge moment for Diamante and Ivelisse. I think that would be a great moment. And, you know, if I was Tony Khan, I would consider even just pushing that hopefully yearly annual tournament back a little bit so you get that in. But I like that idea. Moving on to the next match, it was the Young Bucks who defeated Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, 15 minutes, 24 seconds as your proper in-ring opener to the pay-per-view. Craig, thoughts on this match?
This is good. This is how it should have started. This is probably how it would have started. AEW style speed-based tag team match, lots of offense. Young Bucks with 9 double team moves to 2 of their opposition, Jurassic Express, 13 tags to 6 in favor of Young Bucks. They really do push the tag team kind of moniker. Jurassic Express had to counter the Young Bucks' kind of onslaught of offense with 39 reversals in this 15-minute match. The Young Bucks were 1 strike off of 50 again in this 15-minute match, so that's quite some pace. This is AEW's bread and butter, and it is fantastic.
Yes, it wouldn't be AEW without opening up in the ring with a high-octane, hard-hitting tag match. I thought this. I would. For me, this was my personal match of the night. I didn't think necessarily that this was a great match, but I think what made this match great was one, the constant elevation of. How do I say this properly? It's not the elevation of the Young Bucks, but it's the elevation that the Young Bucks give to their opponents. Young Bucks do a great job of making their opponents look great. And conversely, just the storytelling within this match, I thought was really great. You know, the Young Bucks and their heel tendencies throughout this match. I like this match a lot. I liked just the super kick to Marco's stunt, just like getting him out of the way. I did think after the match that would have made this even better for me is we just go fully into Matt and Nick Jackson turning heel and just have them beat up Marco's stunt after this match. Or even, I think I might have actually said it about their match on last Dynamite, which obviously we couldn't have the chance to talk about, but just go full heel and attack Marco's stunt. I think that would be great to get some more feud into this match, more fire into this match. And you don't have to build that story within just this match, you know, have it coming into it. But then also very reminiscent to when Kenny Omega beat down Marco Stunt a month or so ago. I would have enjoyed that a little bit. But I can see why they did that. They're still leaning towards like the gray area of the Jackson brothers. So I can see why they held off on that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I like this match a lot. I don't remember a Canadian Destroyer from Luchasaurus. That was disappointing.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was fairly good. Let's move on to the 21-man Casino Battle Royale match where Lance Archer defeated everyone. Like, defeated is a weird way when you're describing a battle royale. Lance Archer won this battle royale. Not going to go over the huge names. 21-minute match. 21-minute match. That's a person per minute. Thoughts on this match, Craig?
Didn't mind it. It was fine. Did not like that Darby Allin spot. I cringed the whole way through that, but suppose that's his own personal autonomy. I can't imagine he was pressured into doing that. I would guess that he was up for that. Hobbs, I liked that they shone a spotlight on him. That was cool. Don't think he did. Did he do a spine buster? I don't think he did. You need to see him do a spine buster. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Happy enough. Lance Archer won. I don't really know who else you could have put it on. Eddie Kingston maybe doesn't feel world title picture ready. I'd have loved Ray Phoenix or Pentagon to have won, but that would have kind of been a bit of a shock in their booking. They've not been kind of booked at that level. Again, Darby Allin could have won. Him and John Moxley have that thing going, although they did just face each other recently. Ricky Starks was another one that I saw touted before the match. That would have been interesting. He certainly got something, but yeah, it was a battle royale. I don't know how much attention I was paying to it. I don't have as much complaints as other people. Do feel sorry for Mr. Evan Bourne, Matt Sydal, whatever he's going for. That was a shame.
So that seemed to be a little bit of a conversation on Twitter, not as much as this next match, but Matt Sydal. What are your thoughts on that whole intro? A lot of people thought it was a funny debut. I saw one person say shockmasterish. I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh, that's a mistake. Don't dog on someone for their mistake." What was your sort of take on the Matt Sydal debut?
I did laugh. Like, I cringed at first and was like, "Oh, like that's gutting, etc., etc." And then I like kind of did chuckle at just how extremely unfortunate it was. Like, it's your AEW debut. I hope it's a debut. I hope he's sticking around, and that would be really intriguing. I didn't take a huge amount of pleasure out of it. I kind of laughed at the kind of black humor of it all, but and I hope he sticks around. I hope we get to see an actual shooting star press from him soon.
I will be honest. He went down. He went up. Great debut. Great pop from the crowd. Goes over, knees Shawn Spears in the face. Great looking knee. Goes for a shooting star press. A move that he's never tripped on. Slips, falls. I thought it was comically hilarious. I'm very happy that he's okay. If he wasn't okay, I obviously would not think it's funny, but the fact that he appeared to be okay, I thought it was the funniest thing to watch. I legit laughed out loud, and I recognize that there is that sort of like you said, that always sunny black humor aspect of like, this is the guy making his debut and he slips and trips at the very moment, but it's so funny. It's so like, this is like the perfect like mess up of like this going to your big finisher move, the move that everyone knows you for, and then just slips and falls, and it's something comical about that. I agree. I wish Matt Sydal sticks around. He's definitely had connections with the Young Bucks in the past with New Japan, where he was teaming with Ricochet. I like Matt Sydal a lot. I think he would add a good atmosphere into this promotion if they get to keep him around. I did pitch on Twitter. I like the idea on this upcoming Dynamite that you just do the match, Matt Sydal versus Shawn Spears, and have Matt Sydal do the shooting star there, even if you're not sending him on to do, as a full-time talent, at least bring him on for one match so that we could see the shooting star press. Do it to a Shawn Spears who is it fine if he gets a loss? Of course. So do
is
that.
It, though?
I don't know. I don't know what's happening with Shawn Spears, and I don't seem to care about Shawn Spears.
Have you heard the hand gesture theory?
What's the specific theory?
So it's the Four Horsemen, and instead of doing their normal four, they've been doing this 3-fingered thing. And I thought it was supposed to be like an F, like for fear the revelation. So it was like an F, but apparently they're saying it's a 4 with one finger down. So it's Dax, Cash, and Shawn Spears who are still around, and then the fourth one isn't there at the moment.
That's what I thought they were doing, But I was wondering if it's Spears because they started doing.
I hope it's not because he's crap. But
agreed. And that's why I don't care about Sean Spears. But they started doing the 3-finger thing when Tully was introduced. So I was wondering, like, is the third person there Tully?
Yeah, which kind of eliminates a person.
Which I was like, that's silly, unless they're saying it's Spears, but they've never interacted with Spears.
But he is Tully's third guy,
which is also true. But then it's like, okay, well then at some point we would have to see Tully and Spears and FTR all in the same room at some point.
I don't think it'll happen until they do the whole thing, though.
That was my pitch with the Matt Sydal match. Is Matt Sydal does the shooting star press, but he doesn't get the win because FTR get involved in the match, causing him to lose. Or conversely, I like the idea of getting teased about the shooting star press and have Matt Sydal go for it, but FTR stop him, which allows stop him from jumping at all. Sean Spears hits him, and then bing, bing, bang, boom. You got the thing, you got the big reveal.
It's MJF. He's splitting with Wardlow. It's MJF.
Yeah, there's something brewing, and I just don't know. I would love if they just kick it if Sean Spears is the red herring.
Yeah, me too.
Continued thoughts on the Battle Royal. Lance Archer, I think, is a great pick. I think it really falls in line with his "everybody dies" mantra for him to win this Battle Royal. Like Will Hobbs is great. I think Will Hobbs really showed up, and then on this upcoming Dark, I guess tonight's Dark when this episode comes out, he has what appears to be a squash match. Appears he's about to get a win on Dark. So that's exciting for Hobbs. I think he did a great job. I would love if the FTW title turns into this big Hoss heavyweight title where Lance and Hobbs and Hager and Cage all duke it out in, and maybe some other people. Maybe put the Butcher in there. That'd be interesting. I did not enjoy how Eddie Kingston was presented in this match. It felt like he was kind of a chicken shit heel. Yeah. Which was frustrating. And that was really annoying me during this match that he was using the others. Like the first time we see him is just this badass who's just destroying Cody, but then here he's just using other people. I did think after the fact that maybe that's why he was aligning Phoenix and Pentagon and Butcher and Blade, was that so that he can use them for this Battle Royal to win. But that didn't pay off here in any capacity, so who knows?
I wanted them to come out at the same time.
All 5 of them?
Yeah, I know that's contrived, but I think it would have been like a cool spot.
I agree. I think that would have been like a cool moment to have all 5 out there and they just wreck shop and just start destroying people. It would have been the perfect moment to do it because you have 5 people coming out, so why not just put all 5 in one? I agree. Let's move on. We sort of already talked about our thoughts on this match. Broken Rules match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. We both didn't like it. We both thought that it sounds like both thought that the match should have just ended straight up. Is there any more thoughts that you have about this match? I mean, I thought the last spot of pushing Guevara off was kind of cool, but obviously ruined by everything that happened previously. I mean, this was a tough one to watch.
Yeah, no, I just hope he's all right. Apparently, there's even just like the concussion isn't the end of it. There's like post-concussion syndrome. I don't know. But yeah, I think we've maybe spent enough time wallowing in misery.
Or even if the concussion is real or not, because there's dispute about that. Yes. But I agree. Let's move on to the next match, which is the AEW Women's World Title match between Hikaru Shida defeating Thunder Rosa, the NWA Women's Champion, in 60 minutes and 57 seconds. Craig, I thought this was a really great match. It's my second favorite match of the night. I thought Thunder Rosa carried this match quite a bit. I thought, who knows what's going to happen with, NWA continuously. I want to say she has a contract with NWA, but I'm really unsure about their contract clauses. I did know that when the pandemic started, they asked people if they can get out of theirs. I presume Thunder Rosa stayed. Obviously, if it's possible, I want to see Thunder Rosa back on TNT. I thought she did really great. I think she would be a great thing for the division. But thoughts on this match in general, Craig?
Yeah, she's great. Absolutely fantastic. Her match against Alison Kay at the start of the year was really, really good. One of my favorite women's matches of the year. She carried this match, I suppose, in terms of offense. Sheeta was selling a lot for her. Thunder Rosa came out with 71% of the offense in this match, which is
Jesus.
huge. Like, that's absolutely massive. Like a big, like, even getting like 58% of the offense is a huge chunk more in your favor. This is like, she's more than doubled her opponent's offense. 70 strikes compared to 24.
That's
Healthy dose
warhorse level of offense.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. There's a few fouls, 5 fouls from her compared to 0. The other thing about her that the numbers don't show that I really liked was her facials. A lot of facials, a lot of attitude. Her face when she kicked out of the Falcon Arrow at 1 was superb. Just the kind of, just the delightful smile at the kind of frustration she would believe that she'd caused her opponent there. Yeah, it was really good, and yeah, I'd really enjoy seeing her sticking around.
Thunder Rosa getting 71% of the match offense is insane to me. Just going out there, just striking her up. I mean, yeah, shouts out to Thunder Rosa. I mean, yeah, she's phenomenal. That match against Alison Kay is probably my favorite women's match of the year so far. I have to backtrack and check that out. But she's an astounding wrestler. She's improved way more than her Lucha Underground days. It was nice seeing her come out here and wrestle. Hikaru Shida, I think she held her own, but I think she was a little gassed out probably from the heat a little bit. I think Thunder Rosa did do a little better in her performance, but Shida still maintained her composure a bit.
I think that may have been by design.
Good point.
She gets the exposure on TV, which is how you get the NWA to agree to it, but they don't just want their champion going over and getting buried by another company's champion. She looked strong. That's perhaps that was part of the deal.
At the very least, if you're going to do that, though, have that match against Serena Deeb be a squash match. Just make it even. Hit the story of this match between Shida and Rosa even harder by having Thunder Rosa squash Deeb last Wednesday.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that, certainly.
Deeb's not a contracted talent. It doesn't hurt anybody.
I suppose the difficulty there is there's a lot of spotlight on women's use and the time and blah blah blah. So if you're like, oh, we had a 10 minutes women match on Dynamite's semi-main event, that sounds quite good. 30-second squash. You're kind of getting misogynist thrown at you again, I suppose.
Yeah, they were in a rock and a hard place by not properly booking and giving their women enough time.
Your point is valid. I suppose that might have been what they were worried about.
I know. I 100% agree. I would 100% put money on the fact that is probably what they were concerned about. Ironically, though, this was the match that you give 30 seconds to.
Yes, I agree.
And what I'm saying to say is, I think they put themselves into a rock and a hard place situation where they
properly begin with.
Yeah, if they did it properly to begin with, this wouldn't have been as much of an issue that it was. And it's not really a huge issue, but it's just preferred that I think they could have done that better. So Shida, where does Shida go next? I don't know. I think if I was doing this, come out top on Dynamite this upcoming Wednesday and have a fatal 4-way number 1 contenders match for the women's title. Why not?
Do a tournament.
Do a tournament as well. At the same vein, the problem with the tournament is we need Shida.
Tournament could be 4 people for all I care. Just
good point.
Not another fatal 4-way.
Have Thunder Rosa face another person, face Big Swole, but Big Swole gets the win over Rosa.
Yeah.
That could be
Nyla
interesting.
Rose versus Penelope Ford. I don't know, something like that.
Something like that. Let's build up someone because we need to get Shida a rivalry because that is part of the situation. Is that Shida has never really had a big rival in this promotion to begin with. I can't think of one. Nyla Rose is there, but really the rivalry stems from just Shida won a bunch of matches. But there's also an asterisk because she won a bunch of matches because Nyla Rose wasn't wrestling during the pandemic.
Yeah. There was the Britt Baker thing, I suppose, during the pandemic. That was really good.
Yes. But even then Britt Baker gets injured, and then that flies out the window again.
Yeah.
So we need to find a way to give Shida an actual storyline, and I think that would help a lot more. And I think that's also kind of what hurt a lot of this stuff. They were obviously trying to figure out this NWA angle for a while, but get it done sooner. I don't know. We need a storyline of the women's division, and all of that was on Britt Baker and Swole, who Britt Baker was still injured. So
100%.
Moving on to the 8-man tag team match, the National Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, Matt Cardona and Scorpio Sky defeating Colt Cabana and the Dark Order, Evil Uno, Mr. Brody Lee, and Stu Grayson, with, of course, celebrity Dark Order member, forgot his name, so I lost the joke, lost the bit. Sinbad, there we go. Damn it, I lost the bit completely. Anyways, 8-man tag team match. Craig, thoughts on this one?
Forgot this happened. It was fine. Interesting story development. The action in the ring wasn't as good as I thought it might be. You've got some good workers in there. You could have had one of those overly convoluted tag team matches that they like to do, but that didn't really happen. But the story was good. Brody Lee doing his lurking around, telling people what to do thing, and then the Colt Cabana thing at the end, of course, was really interesting.
Agreed. The storytelling is really here what made this match great. It was pushing along the idea of Colt Cabana getting berated finally by Brody Lee, but then at the same time getting like comfort from Evil Uno.
Yeah, that was strange.
Which it was strange, but I liked it because then it's the whole thing about Dark Order is that these people are rejected, but Colt Cabana has never felt rejected necessarily. He was just upset that he kept losing. Yeah. So and that's how they bring him in. So now we need to get him rejected, but get the embrace of the rest of the Dark Order. So it's kind of like that sort of culty mentality, I guess. We all know we had to see it eventually happen. I like the idea also that Dustin Rhodes get the pin, so we move along to the TNT title match next Dynamite, which I think would be great. Hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Matt Cardona was here.
He didn't do anything. He was bad.
I don't remember a single spot of Matt Cardona's.
He had a very short hot tag where he kind of came in, ran about a bit, and didn't do a huge amount. I think he hit a Rider at one point.
I think probably like on Stu or something.
Yeah, wasn't very good.
He was basically just there to do a hot tag, and that was it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't. Do you want to see Matt Cardona stay in this promotion? I guess that would be the topic point from this match.
I don't even know if he's going to get an Impact contract at this stage, and everybody gets an Impact contract.
Oh wait, so it's not WWE, not AEW, not Impact. If there's nothing happening in America, maybe he needs to go overseas. That's right, Matt Cardona in the G1 Climax 30.
Yes, when we realize that Yujiro might not be that bad.
Fine, then I'll at least take Matt Cardona versus Toru Yano over the King of Pro Wrestling title.
Might be where he belongs.
Moving on.
He comes across as a nice guy. I feel bad.
He does, and I don't want to dunk on the guy too much, but it is like
it's been a weird run.
At the end of the day, he is just a mid-carder. You take him out of WWE, put him here, and it's like the same. And yeah, maybe it's because he's not contracted, so why push him that much? But like,
I don't know if he cares anymore.
He's been wrestling for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Let me see, how long has he been wrestling for? He's 35 years old, wrestling for 16 years.
Wow.
He's got a whole toy media empire. I don't see him getting a world title shot in any company for a while.
No. Well, maybe Impact.
Maybe Impact, but still, I mean, I could see it. The problem is that the moment he goes to Impact is the moment he teams with Myers.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they start with a feud or whatever. But I don't want to see that. We'll skip the AEW World Tag Team title match because we'll circle back around for when we get our deep dive. Moving on to the Mimosa Mayhem match. It's Orange Cassidy defeating Chris Jericho in 15 minutes and 2 seconds. Oh boy. Craig, thoughts on this one?
Right. Chris Jericho has been getting a lot of praise, and quite rightly so. I think his heart is in the right place here, and he obviously wants to get Orange Cassidy over. But I'm about as uninterested in Orange Cassidy as I have ever been. And I loved him, which is interesting.
Interesting past tense there.
So he's been overexposed, and I think that's diminished his character. The laziness aspect of his character has been diminished as well. I think he's been just more of a wrestler, and like his match against Pac was superb. It was absolutely excellent.
Yep.
But I can't even remember his first match against Jericho. I don't know. I think this has been a failure, to be honest, which is a shame because I liked what they were trying to do.
And I don't want to point fingers, but I mean, Chris Jericho, I think, messed this up. He has the right intention in trying to push Orange Cassidy and make him a bigger star. And, you know, if you look at the ratings, it's hit or miss. And you can say that Orange Cassidy is the only person that Chris Jericho has lost ratings on in terms of feud. But at the end of the day, is it just Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho doesn't match? Is it just Chris Jericho didn't have a good one here? Like, is it the pandemic? I don't know what it is, but this didn't work. Between the first match being kind of good, the second match, Chris Jericho botching the finish, and this third match just being a weird, I don't even know how to describe it, kind of like an Inferno match, but with Mimosa.
I didn't mind the match.
I did not like the match at all. I hated this match. I hated watching it. But go on.
I kind of liked the kind of idea of Jericho shoving his head into the Mimosa kind of being a factor in the match. I didn't hate the match. I'm bored of Orange Cassidy now, and that is really not something that I saw coming.
In a weird way, Chris Jericho trying to push Orange Cassidy as a serious contender caused Orange Cassidy to lose all the aspects for you and me that made him interesting.
Essentially, yes. And they need to reboot him.
Yeah, which it's very ironic because Chris Jericho's like, let's make this guy serious. And he means something. He's out there to make business. And then it's like, oh, but now he's just a guy.
Yeah. He's good at wrestling, but and there were some amazing parts of this. Like the debate was really good. I really liked the debate. The waterboarding was awful. The hitting him.
Which waterboarding? There was like 3 or 4. I feel like
the upside down one I didn't like. The hitting him with the bag of oranges was hilarious.
Yeah.
The dropping the orange juice was a bit. It's been very hit or miss.
It's been a mixed bag of oranges, if you will. Moving right along into the AEW World Title match, it was Jon Moxley who ended up defeating MJF. Asterisk on that, according to MJF, because he defeated him with the banned Paradigm Shift, 23 minutes and 42 seconds. Craig, I think similar vein where they were pushing for story momentum coming out of this, but on the match itself, any stats wise, anything that was really popping out of here?
So I mean, not stats, but I was slightly disappointed that we didn't see a different finish from Moxley. I was quite interested to see if he'd pull out something new or tap him out or something. But a minor criticism there. In terms of the match, it was 53-47 in terms of percentages. Moxley 51 strikes, 24, whereas MJF with a 100-second submission advantage. So they were coming from very different directions. 8 pins to 15 in MJF's favor there. MJF with 14 fouls to 9 from Moxley. So, MJF going for the pins and fouling to get there. But Moxley not afraid to pull some underhanded tricks out of his back pocket either. Statistically, the match had an interesting story.
Do you think MJF should have won the title here?
No, I think it's too soon.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the kind of match that's like we're raising him into main event status, but he's not there yet. We're slowly still building him there.
Have him feud with Wardlow and see if he can get that over, and I think he will. Also, it's got to be 2021 needs to be Kenny Omega reigning supreme as the champion.
Agreed. And then you can have maybe Adam Page win it from Omega, and then MJF win it from Adam Page.
Yeah, that might even be the sequence of winners that I have in my article that I wrote about that.
There we go. What was my other point I wanted to say from here? I thought the build to this match was pretty crappy. I didn't necessarily like the presidential stuff from MJF. I was like, just go out there, my dude. I think you don't have to put wrapping paper on this whole thing. Just make it that I've never been pinned. But then even then, coming into this match, the paradigm shift is banned. That is confusing because as we've seen in the past 2 matches with Hager and Brody Lee, Moxley has not tapped out, but used a submission as the last move in those matches. So why ban the paradigm shift in the first place when we have a history knowing that, in the past couple of title defenses, he's used a submission hold? And then conversely, the commentary pointed this out, MJF is working the arm to make it hard to use the paradigm shift. Why? It's banned. Why work the arm to begin with? I don't understand.
Was that an actual call? Did they say that?
Jim Ross said it.
Oh, it was for the arm bar.
And someone mentioned that. It was like MJF submission is an arm bar. It's the salt of the earth arm bar. Yeah. Which is a point I know. I agree with that. MJF is using it for the arm bar. But then why not just make that the story of the match? Mm-hmm. Why not?
I think it was. I think JR was just, whatever was up with JR.
I agree that it was the story of the match, but I'm saying drop the whole banning the paradigm shift and just make it, I'm going to tap you out. Not only am I going to pin you, I'm going to tap you out. I'm going to put you in the arm bar, the thing I've won many of my matches with. Which will wear down your paradigm shift. Don't ban the move, just wear it down, and that's interesting. And then there's a spot where Moxley tries to go for the paradigm shift, and MJF reverses it into like the arm bar or whatever. Just and then you have Moxley pushing through a injured arm to win the title or retain the title, but then also going through the pain of constant arm bars from MJF to make Moxley look even tougher and MJF to look like a threat. I don't know. What do I know about booking?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Moxley isn't dependent on the paradigm shift. Logically it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in where MJF and Wardlow go moving forward. It doesn't look great. I just saw a tweet saying that from MJF saying that Wardlow might be better to join Dark Order instead. And I was like, ooh, MJF. I'm interested. I think an MJF Wardlow feud could happen, and then on the other horizon, in however long, I forget when it happened last year, the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royale where you won, where MJF won that ring. That's happening in a couple months. So if you do Wardlow, then you can then go into the Dynamite ring. So that's interesting. There's something there. So he has things to keep him, to tide him over in the meantime, if he wants to keep that ring he used as a weapon so much. Well, then there we go. That's the whole card, but we're going to double back, like I said, to the AEW World Tag Team title match. We have the actual match breakdown here, which we'll be discussing here. Craig, FTR, title change, baby. Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood defeat Adam Page, Kenny Omega in 29 minutes and 37 seconds. We got the match breakdown. If you wanted to view this, you can always go to the link down below. It takes you to ProWrestlingMusings.com to check it out there. Or, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing it right now. But if you want to see it in the future, you can always go over to Hit the Books podcast on YouTube to see video versions of this podcast. Craig, thoughts on this match? Thoughts on the stats breakdowns of this match?
Yeah, so obviously this is new. Usually when we do tag team breakdowns, it is like a singles one, except there's a couple extra categories, and both tag team members' attack just goes into the same kind of their team scores, whereas this is broken down. You can get the team scores by adding them up. No, I'm not going to do that for you. I'm sure you can manage yourself. It's probably quite a busy picture, but you can see what each man did for his team in this match. And there are some really interesting things that it highlights. The most obvious one is Dax Harwood is the only man out of the three that used submissions in this match. He did 2 minutes and 3 seconds worth of submissions. His tag team partner, Cash Wheeler, did no submissions, and neither did Kenny Omega or Adam Page. And the other thing that sticks out is that Kenny Omega almost used as many strikes himself as Cash and Dax did together. He was only behind the two of them combined by 5 strikes. The other thing that jumps out is the amount of fouls. They differentiated the teams in very babyface heel roles here, 1 foul to 12. The 12, of course, being from FTR. However, interestingly, Kenny Omega with 7 taunts, 3 from Page, 2 from Cash, 0 from Dax, who is obviously too busy doing submissions. So Kenny Omega was quite confident here. When you think of everything that happened afterwards, that does seem interesting. And the other big headline from this match is the kind of teamwork statistics. 15, that's not what those numbers say. 19 tags and 19 double teams from Cash and Dax compared to 8 tags and 8 double teams from Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. So that's kind of really interesting. The kind of severity of the difference in kind of teamwork maneuvers.
Yeah, looking at this right off the bat, I love Dax's, which I believe is the bald one, his impact on this match. Like, if I had to say if you could maybe be like, who led which team, Dax definitely feels like, 9 fouls, 6 pin attempts, 123 seconds of submissions. Definitely feel like he went out there and really tried to destroy his other team.
Sorry, I'm going to cut in because I've made a mistake here. So on the graphic, and I might have already fixed this on another graphic, so I've said it's 8 and 19 and then 8 and 19 again. Double teams were 7 and 7. So the tags were 8 and 19 as it says, but the double teams were even at 7 and 7. So it still more or less tells the same story. Sorry, I've cut across your very smart and intelligent thoughts.
If you were confused, there you go. It's 7-7 for the double teams, which is very interesting that that's still even there. Tags being 8-19, I think that's very apparent. That's that sort of Southern style of constant tagging, making sure you have your opponent on your side of the ring. I like that a lot. When you were talking about the taunts, that Omega could have been very confident. Going back to, I believe it was when we had Rob on talking about the taunt sort of ideas. That idea of like, could it be confidence or could it be the idea? No, was it Rob? I don't remember. It might have been you. I don't remember actually.
It was Rob.
Thank you. It could maybe not be confidence, but rather trying to motivate yourself to be confident. Like the idea of like, this is a fake thing that I'm going to try to do to drown the noise of Page, I guess.
Kenny does that as he comes out as well, so that's probably quite a true thing.
Strike downs being from Omega and Page are very interesting to me. The fact that not only they strike. Oh my God, my brain exploded. Not only do they have more strikes than FTR, Their strike downs are just insanely. Their strike down rate is insanely better than them. But at the end of the day, for FTR, it's not about striking down and hitting your opponent really hard. It's about double teams. It's about tagging it out, making sure you have more control of the match. If you're looking at the, I guess, flow of offense, let's look at the tide changes, not the 5-minute periods one. You can sort of see, well, no, we'll go to the 5-minute periods one because they have the mixed number there. You can see that, like, FTR, they're not really in control of the entire match, but they're consistent, which to me, when I view these things, I feel like it's people who are more consistent with their flow of offense than being all over the place like Page and Omega are. That really leads to victories. The consistency is key to me.
Okay. Yeah. We do hear that, we do see that quite a lot, I suppose, with somebody say a lot of like somebody just outlasted their opponent, or somebody rose and then fell quite hard.
Yeah, and it's that aspect of like figuring out. I mean, even if you're looking at this, just looking at the Page and Omega thing, you can see that like they are going down. It's up and down across the board. But if there was that sort of
trending downwards, yeah,
if there was that trend line, you could just see it like, oh, that is a decline as they're going.
And you would certainly see an incline from, conversely, from that the blue opposition there is trending in the upwards direction.
Exactly. Is there any other points I really like to make? I want to shout out that submission times 5 seconds. Really not blowing out the graph.
Yes.
Visually. Yeah, I mean, I thought this match was pretty good. It's very interesting that the double teams it's very interesting to me that FTR's tags were at 19, but their double teams was only at 7, where Page and Omega, when they tagged, they typically would use a double team maneuver.
Yeah, Page and Omega do a lot of like striking double teams, as well as their kind of bigger ones, whereas Dax and Cash kind of are they're kind of tagging and going in and out more. It's more of a kind of merry-go-round effect rather than a lot of tag teams use tags to get them both in the ring. They do that, but they're also using it to they might do 2 or 3 in quick succession. But it is an interesting point that they're not taking advantage of that 10 count. I mean, they are 7 still quite a lot, but it's certainly not on the same level as their 19 tags.
Yeah, so that's very interesting to me, is that you're right. It is more of a merry-go-round. Let's just have control of the whole situation. But do you think they I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I was going to say, like, should they take advantage of having those 10 seconds more often? And then I was just like, well, no. I mean, they won the titles, so I guess it does. Because whatever, if it works, it works. You know, if it gives you the titles, it gives you the titles.
So like, for example, there's a reversal, a tag, then a reversal, I think, to keep hold of the man. Dax comes in, hits a grapple, and then tags out again, and Cash comes in and hits a grapple, according to my scribbles. So like they're just not using as high a percentage of a double team moves per tag as Kenny Omega and Adam Page were.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of all those numbers, let's take a look back at their previous title reign. I'm not going to say current title reign. Their previous title reign. You put together some graphs here as well, Craig, some supplementary graphs, where you're sort of looking at their performance in this match compared to their overall average across their title 11 match title reign, I want to say. Also comparing the first couple matches in the title reign and their last couple matches. I think it was like 5 and 6, 5 or 5, something like that.
Yeah. So what we've got is so it's kind of all of Page and Omega's. It's very similar to what you did with Cody, except Well, no, it's just very similar. So what I've done here is I've got their kind of average numbers from their whole title reign. So to give an idea of how Page and Omega tend to perform in a tag team match for the title, I then came across the numbers were saying that it seemed that for the first half of their title reign, they were kind of dysfunctional underdogs. And then for the second half, they became kind of dominant champions. I came to that conclusion because their match offenses were 54%, 41%, 39%, 43%, and 49% for their first 5 title matches. And then it went up to 63, 59, 58, and 61. So I then got averages for their first 5 matches and averages for their latest 4 matches to kind of, we've got their average performance for when they were dysfunctional and their average performance for when they were back to when they developed into a properly good team. And then the fourth, so if you've got the graph in front of you, red for total average, blue for the beginning of their title reign average, green for the second half of their title reign average, and then the purple one is for their performance against FTR. Mm-hmm. And what you will notice by looking at the graphs is that for a lot of the time, the purple one's actually the lowest. However, I'm going to caveat that by there's also the match percentage, the total offense, 52% against FTR. Average is 52%. 45% at the beginning of their reign and 60% at the end of their reign. So this was very much a middling performance from Page and Omega, closer to their dysfunctional beginning of their reign, which makes sense based on what's been going on, or it could be just be because of the strength of FTR's performance. But yeah, when you look at the breakdown, the things that stick out to me is they were doing more strikes and more submissions when they were more dominant, with a slight little bit extra from grapples as well. And yeah, in this match, they were still doing a lot of strikes, but they were certainly missing the submissions. They certainly didn't do as many strikes as they would usually do. They outstruck FTR, but it was their strike kind of per hour rates against FTR was lower than even their average for the beginning of their reign. So yeah, they underperformed due to dysfunction, or just FTR's in-ring acumen is for the watcher's interpretation. But yeah, the wheels have well and truly come off.
I really like that point that their numbers are most similar to the first half of their title reign, which not only they were dysfunctional, but they were not defending the titles for 3 months.
A quick caveat that just popped into my head. Part of the reason that a lot of the FTR numbers are slower, so on the graph with all the strikes, strike-downs, grapples comparison, the reason that will be lower is because this was an almost 30-minute match. As matches go longer, and this is true across kind of like any wrestling company, per hour rates of offense go down. In a 15-minute tag match, it's let's say in a 15-minute tag match, they will do like 50 moves. In a 30-minute tag match, they might do about 70, 80. And instead of it being doubled like the time up to 100, it's because as the matches go longer, and they start to sell the effects of the match more. There's more selling, more struggling to their feet, that kind of thing. So that's why it looks like it's a really poor performance from this. So I would point more to the match offense comparison, where you've got this being like a middling performance. It's better than the beginning of their title reign in terms of how much they dominated the match. And they did slightly dominate the match, 52% compared to 48% for FTR. But when Page and Omega were at their kind of dominant champions best in the 4 matches, hold hold on, where's my thing? The 4 matches against Best Friends, Private Party, Dark Order, and Jurassic Express, they averaged 60% of the offense in those matches, compared to 45% in the matches that preceded those. Here it was 52%, which is the same as their average across their title reign, but certainly not one of their stronger performances. And against FTR, not good enough.
Also, what I like to point out is that first half of the title reign of SCU versus Nightmares, the Young Bucks match is in there. So I like the idea that, like, the comparison to the Young Bucks, that comparison of how did they do compared to the Young Bucks, which was another great match. I want to see if I can just.
It was also their worst match.
The Young Bucks match?
From a kind of examining their performance, they got 39% of the offense in that match.
39%.
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm trying to see if I can like pull up real quickly that card, that Revolution. No. Come on, computer. No, okay, I didn't have it. It's gonna take a longer deep dive to find that stat, those graphs. But yeah, that idea that like that match is in that first half as well. That sort of this match sort of compares to that level. Of course, it's an average, so it's a little bit skewed a little bit, but there is that comparison as well. That, I mean, they were just. It's close to it, but that was still the worst performance, and they were still won here. Yet they lost here. Like, I get it's really hard to tell, especially when I was putting through that Cody article. But like trying to come up with the ideas of like what do you think either Omega and Page did wrong here, or did they not do enough of? What would be your sort of take on that?
So they started to use submissions more as we went along. There's a really good article on ProWrestlingMusings.com, a preview article for this card, and on it, the previous 9 matches that they were involved in, title matches, essentially they've stayed steady for dives and grapples, but they started to use more submissions as time went on, and as they became more dominant, they certainly started to use more strikes and less reliant on strike downs. Their teamwork statistics were going up as well, more tags and more double teams, and their match offense was also going up as well. So they didn't perform at their best. Which you can't do against the kind of arguably best tag team in AEW. Yeah, it's just it's you have to point to all the drama being a big part of that. Hangman Page came into this match completely changing his attire as almost like some kind of plea to Kenny Omega that he was taking the tag team more seriously. Michael Sidgwick talks about how Page was wearing long trunks for this, which is something he never does. To perhaps be more like Kenny Omega. He was the one that was doing the high 10. Come on, I'm all in now, man. I'm sorry. Let's do this. Too little, too late, I think, was how that was received by Kenny Omega.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I really liked this match. I thought this was this match had the potential, and it was kind of depressing how it fizzled out to be. But for what it was and the story moments that it brought, I think it's memorable in that sense. I think if this match, if the temperature in the room was not over 100 degrees and the Matt Hardy thing did not happen, I think this entire thing would have been better well received. Hard to gauge that because we're talking alternate universes here, but I don't know. I think this match would have been better well received if that was the case. And looking at the stats wise, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I think this would have been a very entertaining match to watch. I think it's just the cards they were dealt were incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I've seen it suggested that it was too long, that it was a live crowd match in a kind of not really properly live crowd era. New Japan certainly seemed to have learned from that. They were pushing some of their matches to like 30, 35 minutes. Dominion New Japan Cup final, and it was just like this really painful slog. At Summer Struggle, the bigger matches were kind of hitting maybe the mid 20s. So yeah, they seem to have responded and fixed things. What the world will be like in November, come Full Gear and the next pay-per-view. I hope they don't have a huge amount more people in that building. I really don't see the situation in America being much different. So yeah, you would hope that they maybe start finding a bit more of like a solution of how to put on a pay-per-view, kind of maximizing your kind of pay-per-view matches for the current situation.
Agreed. I don't know how. I guess point by point. Yeah, was this match really long? I think in a COVID era, I think any match of more than 15 minutes is a little bit too long.
Mm.
You don't have to.
29 minutes, 37 seconds, so it was essentially half an hour.
It was, I just did the math in my head, 29 seconds shorter than their Revolution match against the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks match was 30 minutes and 6 seconds.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. For me, this was too long. I have an enjoyment to length ratio when I'm looking at.
But that's the question. Why did this match feel too long compared to the Revolution match, which didn't? I don't think it did. Good. Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. The crowd wasn't like tired. The crowd was insanely tired. For many people tweeting who were at the event, being like, "It's hard to breathe, hard to yell, hard to keep this up because it's really hot right now."
Yeah, I mean, I can watch Omega Okada for 70 minutes and really enjoy it, because it's a good match. If you dare give me Evil Naito in a 60-minute draw, I will never watch your product again, Gato. Never.
I guess it also brings up a good point: is that was this match long because of the outside aspects, or was this match bad because it was too long and because of all the outside aspects, or was it just badly put together?
Oh, I see. I mean, like, was it extended because of other things being cut short?
That's also a good point. I didn't think about that.
Sorry, I thought that was the point you were making.
No, it wasn't. But that is a great point, because I imagine Hardy Guevara probably would have gone longer. Let's say maybe 10 minutes. Could this match just have gotten extra time? I don't know. That's an idea. Yeah. These are the people you would probably give it to.
Well, yeah.
Maybe
that's the
Jericho,
thing.
maybe and Moxley.
Probably here.
Second point being, will America be back in time by November? When we were trending upwards in July and August, that seems to have died down now by the time end of August, September rolled around. So things are looking better over here in that sense. But in the same vein, we're talking November. We're talking, things can rapidly change here in a number of weeks. I imagine in 2 to 3 weeks' time, the case numbers in Georgia and most of the southern states in America are probably going to shoot up because of Labor Day weekend. Will November be better? I don't think so. We're now talking the cold, so we're talking flu season starting up as well. I have heard Tony Khan say that they are able to go to an indoor arena.
Yeah, he's choosing to keep it there.
But I can see why he's choosing to keep it there. It's way cheaper, and
it should be, if it can be.
I doubt if they're able to go indoors, they will even be able to have fans.
Yeah, but it's also ventilation.
That's also true. There's also the aspect, the same vein of it being super hot here. What happens when it's cold, in the 40 degrees and they're wrestling out there? It's 40-degree Florida weather, but it's I know for your Scotland bones, 40 degrees isn't too bad probably. But 40 degrees in Florida is definitely cold.
I don't know what metric we're talking about.
Oh yeah, Celsius. 40 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius is 4 degrees Celsius.
Oh, right. Okay. So cold. Yeah, you can. I don't know. I've played football and that. It's fine. They'll manage.
Fair enough. Well, there we go. That's all the time for us today, folks. We've gone through, reviewed All Out for you. If you want more content like this, of course, you can subscribe to this podcast feed, or you can also go to prowrestlingmusings.com. You got a bunch of articles. Like we said, there's a link to the bottom for this specific for some of these match stuff, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on the articles on the website themselves. You can find all of that at Pro Wrestling Musings, or going to Twitter account at Pro Wrestling Musings, or Craig's Twitter account at Craig PW Musings. Well, first was at PW Musings, then it's at Craig PW Musings. And then if you like to throw me a follow and get my ramblings about what's happening in the world of wrestling, then go over to at Hit the Books Pod on Twitter. Craig, anything else? Anything you need to plug?
Not really, no. If you have subscribed to the Fantasy League, and you're probably ahead of me, that did not go well for me. But yeah, there's you should be able to find that on the website now if you want to check out your points totals. But no, that's about it, I believe. I think we might be having some kind of Mexican wrestling coverage coming on the website. So that might be yeah, so somebody approached me about using the kind of format for some kind of Mexican wrestling, and somebody else wanted to write about Mexican wrestling. So I've kind of like been a bit of a matchmaker, and they're potentially going to come up with something. And yeah, it'd be interesting.
I'm interested in that. Go check that out when it drops, folks.
CMLL thing was on at the weekend.
Well, again, if you like what we do here, subscribe. If you like what we do here, leave a review. We would greatly appreciate that, especially on that new. We still have the show airing on the Hit the Books podcast feed, but we have a separate WWS RSS feed. So you can go over. We have our own separate thing for just wrestling and statistics. If you don't mind making sure to leave a review there. That those first couple reviews in the first month or so of a podcast being out are very important. So even more important than people realize. So it's hard to describe and real quickly in an outro format, but very important. So if you don't mind going over to the separate Wrestling of Statistics RSS feed, slap a subscribe on that and leave a review. We would greatly appreciate that. I plugged the Twitters, plug the YouTube again. It's Hit the Books Podcast. If you want to see the video version of this moving forward, you can subscribe over there. I think that's it that I can all think of. Well, again, thank you everybody for listening to this week's episode of Hit the Books. Not Hit the Books. God dang it. I had Hit the Books on the brain. Thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for this. Fuck. Thank you everybody. Bye. Thank you everybody for listening to this week's episode of Wrestling Statistics. We'll be back. Don't you dare. That was take 3 and I'm using it. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode of Wrestling and Statistics. We'll be back all next week for another episode. Until then, goodbye!
Professional.